you ever had trouble in a golf swing making sure you get the proper amount of hip rotation before you come through impact? Well, how you utilize the ground has a huge impact in terms of how you actually get the hips rotated. We've got some three-dimensional force plates. We're going to talk about hip rotation, how it happens, when and where in the golf swing. It'll help you have better contact.
So in this video, we're going to go beyond just what happened with the center of mass shift forward and really start to talk about how a golfer can utilize the ground to create the nice rotational effect we see in a golf swing. Now that rotational effect of the golf swing, I think sometimes we only think about that, Nate, as like, oh, I'm just going to contract my trunk really forcefully and that's going to be my great way for me to generate that rotational motion. And in reality, we're going to utilize the ground first to create some rotation through the legs, through the pelvis, and then that trunk's going to lag behind and create that rotation after with those muscles there. Okay? So one of my favorite ways to depict forces are with just kind of something simple where you can see the direction of them being applied. And so I'm going to have Nate step up here. And what's really cool about kind of how the body works during the golf swing here is that we're going to be able to utilize our trail leg and our lead leg in conjunction together to create this really strong rotational torque or vertical torque, kind of however you want to call it. And what we're going to do is, now that we've kind of already loaded up on this trail leg a little bit, we've got this good lateral force, we're kind of shifting forward, now we want this big rotational effect. And so when I can get that force going more towards to the inside heel, now what you can see is Nate's going to create a really nice force from that trail leg that's pointed not only up, not only a little bit forward, but now really nicely towards the ball. And what that's going to do is it's going to help him to start rotating that back of his pelvis kind of in and towards the ball. While he's doing that, simultaneously, he's going to take a force from his lead leg. That force is actually going to come off of the ball of his foot, and again, kind of point backwards and around the pelvis. I'm going to pull these out right here. So visually, it kind of looks like this. Trail leg coming kind of inside heel, at least initially, before it passes through to the front of the foot. Lead leg kind of going through the ball in that downswing. And now what we have is these two really great forces that paired together can create a very strong rotational torque. And now we get this really forceful rotation of his pelvis that we want to occur second in the kinetic sequence. And this is going to set him up really nicely to now start to kind of bring the rest of his body through and then have the final piece of the puzzle, which is that vertical force. Now, I see a lot of players really struggle with these components of these kind of vertical torques, these rotational torques. Part of it is because they don't really know where to feel and push on the ground. Totally. And so this is where I think being able to know where you need to push and feel that can be a real benefit to golfers maximizing this force and this torque as well.
What I'm going to try to feel in this swing is what we just explained here. As I load back, now those forces I'm going to have from the left heel portion, it's going to be coming that direction out to the right, and my left shooting back behind me off the ball of the left foot. Getting those forces to explode the rotation, getting that vertical force up and through the shot.
Okay, so let's walk in, Nate. Let's hop into this. The forces that are associated with this torque are what we call the anterior-posterior forces. So that's kind of what we described, where that trail leg is kind of pushing force towards the ball, and the lead leg is pushing force away from the ball. So that's why this red value would be positive and the blue would be negative. And what we're really trying to see is that these forces start to generate a lot. Now, again, what I love to see is as I look at that center of pressure of the trail foot, you can see it kind of drifting kind of towards that back heel, staying more towards the middle and inside, while the lead leg's nice and staying through the ball of that foot. That's going to be a really nice location that allows me to kind of see exactly kind of how I'm working with those. Now I can pop into this vertical torque here and say, awesome, right? I've got this large vertical torque, right? I'm getting above that magnitude value. Again, on these swings, we're trying to feel that kind of new thing that we just looked at. So timing-wise, we're a little bit late here, but I love the patterns. I love the way we're building that rotation to kind of help you do that movement and get the most out of that rotational effect.
Love it.
Now, if you don't have the capacity to hop on force plates and test yourself, there's still some cool things you can look at on video to see if you're doing this. And one thing I often see with players who aren't doing this well is when they go to do that rotation, they instead kind of get maybe what we hear of as the dreaded early extension, or the pelvis just kind of thrusting towards the target, right? And that's coming from this fact that they're just not utilizing the ground the way that they should. What's beautiful about that is because this force is coming towards me, Nate, but that force is going away from me. When those are paired up really nice and sequencing at the same time, what we're going to get is the nice rotation, but without that forward thrust towards the golf ball. And that's a way that you can just really quickly check visually if that might be something that you're struggling with these movements.
If you'd like to come into our facility and get a hands-on lesson with these state-of-the-art three-dimensional force plates, just click the link in the description below or on the iCard above. We'll take you to our website, give you all our contact details. We'd love to bring you in and give you a fantastic hands-on session so that you can become a better golfer.